Welcome to The Secret Witch Show, the podcast providing a safe and alchemical altar space of conversations which help powerful women escape a half-hearted, spiritless society and rediscover the freedom of living a wildly magical life. Every other week, we explore how to cast aside the wounds of shame, guilt, and fear connected with fully being yourself, so you can grant yourself permission to stop hiding, ground soulfully back into your body, illuminate your whole soul desires, tend your soul, rediscover and reclaim your powerful gifts, express your magic, and manifest your wildest alchemy. There's no better place to become who your heart longs to be. This is where we will guide you into liberation. I'm your host, Nicole Barton, and I'm so excited to dive in. Welcome, magical ones. I am so glad you're here. In today's modern world, magical witches are keeping themselves small and hiding when instead they long for a life of more. They are living lives that lack their full radiance, feeling the shame of believing they are too sensitive, too dreamy, too wild and emotional, and that is keeping them secret in small lives. They feel burned out, trapped in a life of selling their souls for love, approval, security and control, and giving up their power because they lack the confidence and doubt the capacity to create lives of magic. I work with these magical women in a powerful alchemical container for you to reclaim your magnetic, medicinal, powerful self, called Invoke Your Witch Queen. This crucible guides you into the path of soul, magic and power, and I've got 2 one-to-one spaces opening up to work with me soon. In this work, I'll be guiding you through the full Live Your Wild Alchemy path to love yourself deeply enough to harness your power from love, soften and open into the vulnerability to take soulful, aligned actions, feel confident in your own skin, and create a life of magic, shining your medicinal gifts into the world, ultimately becoming the woman you came here to be. Find out more at www.nicolebarton.co.uk/work-with-me. In today's episode, I am delighted to be freestyling on the medicinal topic of how to stop suppressing your soul and be the fullest energetic expression of yourself. This is one of those subjects that is so core to the Secret Witch. In fact, it's why she's called Secret, because she hides her full expression. In this episode, I explore how any feelings of burnout, illness, disease, or connection are often signs of soul sickness and suppression calling for us to listen. I illuminate some Alchemy Queendoms that explore ways the Secret Witch typically suppresses herself, along with how these can be alchemized into our gold so that we can become the fullest expression of our gifts into the world. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome, magical ones, to our solo episode where I am here to explore the topic that you have chosen in our Secret Witch Circle group. So thank you for showing up each month to choose the topic. And this month's topic is a juicy one. So we are talking to how to stop suppressing your soul and to be your fullest energetic expression. So wow, what a topic. This is a huge one. This is a huge one, especially for me and my journey, which obviously you being here are likely to resonate with. So suppressing our soul is I'm going to dive into explaining what that means, but it's something that has been a huge part of my own journey and which has led me to be able to guide women as a soul guide in their own kind of unsuppression of their soul. That is what the work at this at Team Secret Witch is all about. So this really is so central to the work that we're doing in this path, in this Live Your Wild Alchemy path. So very excited to dive into this. And it was a word, suppression, actually, that came to me. I was chatting about suppression with my coach, or soul guide, as she prefers to be called. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I was chatting about this with my teacher, with my soul guide, and exploring how there was this like language that I was being kind of called into, like really defining as I was leading Medicine Woman. And suppression was a word that I have resonated with perhaps my entire journey to soul, and also at times really how it really sums up that kind of feeling in my body of like being stuck, being suppressed, being pushed down. And this is something that the secret witch who doesn't know her full power will likely feel a lot. So yeah, as I was leading Medicine Woman, I realised that unsuppression of our soul, that kind of unsuppressing of our fullest energetic expression really was a deeper unconscious competence until I chatted about it with my coach. This was really my language for all of the work that I do. And yeah, ultimately I realised that any illness, any disease, because this was about leading Medicine Woman, any kind of place where we needed healing was really a symptom of soul sickness. And that language was really something that came out of me creating and leading Invoke Your Medicine Woman recently. So yeah, my deeper language for like us not fully expressing our soul, which is talked about in a lot of different ways, but for me, like that language of suppression, that suppression of soul, that suppression of truth was really, really, clear in that moment. So suppression really is all the ways, all the patterns, all the shadowy ways that we stop ourselves from being our fullest energetic expression, from being who we are, from living truth, from speaking truth. And yeah, this journey really is all about reclaiming our full expression from the shadows. So suppression is this kind of shadowy way that the secret witch who doesn't know her power will keep herself small through all sorts of ways of creating that she doesn't necessarily realize she is creating. And this suppression energetic can really show up and manifest in our careers, in our relationships, in our friendships, in our families, and most of all in ourselves. So often signs of suppression as a secret witch and for the secret witch are these physical symptoms are often the way that this shows up for the secret witch. This kind of, again, suppression of, one of the ways that it shows up mostly in the women that I work with is there's a lot of suppression of our menstrual cycle. So often my women will come to me experiencing that kind of deep level of suppression of their menstrual cycle, and be really disconnected from that, really disconnected from their body, really disallowing, suppressing their kind of true natural cycle. And that will show up, this is just an example of one way this shows up, but that will show up as a symptom in the body, whether they experience pain, like period pains or ovulation pain, or some kind of symptom, some kind of imbalance, some kind of dis-ease in the body. And it can also show up in other ways. That can show up in the mind, in our emotions. So often again, secret witches will keep themselves suppressed, and that will show up in ways of feeling like, I can't do this, like I'm not big enough, I'm not energetically expanded enough to be who I want to be. And yeah, the work that we do in this path is really to help women just really reconnect to soul, really reconnect to who they are, really reconnect to their power, reconnect to their bodies, so that we can allow our truth to express. And that's what I mean by us being our fullest energetic expression. Like, we came here with a soul purpose. We came here to be our unique selves, to be our gifts, to be our own medicine in the world. And yeah, really, all our secret witchiness is all the shadowy ways that we stop ourselves, we suppress our souls, and yeah, disallow that fullest energetic expression. And this has been a pattern that I know so, so well. So again, you're not alone in this. This is a completely unconscious creation of the Secret Witch. It's something that's innocent. It's something we've learned to do. And yeah, in particular, my journey, a great example of this was how at the age of 10, I created or developed chronic fatigue. And chronic fatigue syndrome leaves you feeling really burned out, really like I was unable to walk. That's how burned out I was. And I realized when I was looking back at this that this was ways that I had suppressed myself to keep others happy. And in that energetic suppression of who I was in order to gain approval and love, that was really suppressing my soul. And it takes so much energy to suppress our souls. And that's something, again, the Secret Witch will often experience, is this sense of burnout, this sense of really being deeply tired, deeply tired. And often it can look like it's that we're doing too much, or whatever it is that we feel is creating our burnout. But what it really is pointing to is this soul sickness, this soul disconnection of where we're just disallowing who we are. And this played out in all sorts of ways, this soul disconnection, this soul suppression, in that I ended up in relationships where I didn't give myself a say. I just did what other people wanted. I tried to fit in and really kept who I was hidden in order to receive love. And this played out in like romantic relationships, in relationships with my parents, in relationships with other women. And one of the biggest ways, again, that I can think of just off the top of my head was that, again, I got married to someone that really it wasn't in alignment for me to be married to, because I was suppressing myself in order to stay safe. So I was suppressing my soul in order to gain approval, security, and control. And these are the three ways that often the Secret Witch who doesn't know her power will kind of suppress herself, suppress her personality in order to gain approval, security, or control, in order to feel safe. This is what we do. We kind of sell our souls in order to stay safe. And the work here is really to love ourselves enough to be able to shine our fullest energetic expression without that kind of deep need, this shadowy need for approval, security, and control. So yeah, this is so central to the witch. This is so central to the witch, and it's really ultimately why the work that we do here is called the Secret Witch. Secrecy is ultimately that suppression, that hiding, that shoving down of all the stuff that is really inconvenient, that really wants to be heard and expressed. So the Secret Witch ultimately really is like the suppressed witch. And if you think about the kind of witch wounds, it makes perfect sense. Like the deepest witch wound is that of really having to hide who you are. Because if you think back to our ancestors who were witches, they were literally being burnt at the stake for being themselves, for being their truth. And so it makes perfect sense that this is a wound that is kind of built into our DNA. If we think about epigenetics, like things being passed down through our DNA, this is like really, really explains why innocently the Secret Witch will feel that really, really deep need to suppress herself, to suppress her soul, rather than just living as her true energetic expression. Like that witch wound right there is the exact reason why you are feeling like I did, like there's this compelled need to stay safe. And it's so important. Like when we start to see this, it begins to reveal ways in which we are able to create this differently. Think again about the witch. One of her gifts is that she's this magnificent, powerful creatrix. I'm going to go deeper into that. But we can really begin, when we shine a light here on the places that we are suppressing ourselves, we can begin to really consciously choose to create this differently. And that is what I started to do. So even though I was kind of in this relationship that was, really not aligned, where I was really deeply suppressed, I began to choose a different way. And at the time when I first chose it, I was creating that unconsciously. It wasn't very powerful the way that I chose it and created it, because I hadn't been in the deep work of shadow work and soul. But the first time that I really remember leaning into that unsuppression is when I remember, this was years and years ago, and I remember chatting to a therapist, I think it was at the time, and she turned around to me and said, "Well, you're not a victim, are you?" I think I've shared this before, possibly in some episodes, but I just remember that really triggering me, because at the time I didn't see that I was a victim. To me, I was just suffering with chronic fatigue and really burnt out, and I was trying really hard to not be a victim. So it was quite triggering to hear, and I think often the things that trigger us most are the most beneficial. I know certainly some of my clients will agree with that, and I definitely know this to be true from my own experience of this path with my own soul guide. But yeah, I remember going back to when I first started to really choose, even though unconsciously choose differently, that sentence, "you're not a victim," really triggered me into actually another shadowy way of being, but it was completely the opposite end of the polarity. So there I was acting victim, and then all of a sudden I booked a flight to Bali and just kind of took off, began to follow the call of my heart, the call of soul, and really step into who I was. But I did it in another very victim-y way, which was like this opposite end of the pole of like, I'm not going to be a good girl anymore. I'm not going to suppress myself. I'm going to rebel. And that rebellion is still a form of, shadow. It's like the opposite end of the pole. We often, when we go into shadow, will flip from one end and one extreme end of the pole to the other extreme end of the pole. So that kind of good girl rebel vibe I had going on was still in victim, but it was at the time the best way that I knew to really begin to unsuppress myself and become my fuller energetic expression. And yeah, I did. I went to Bali, and funnily enough, when I was in Bali, I had gone to Bali with absolutely no energy. As I say, I was burned out. I was really deeply lacking energy. And yet by the end of my time in Bali, and I was only there for a month at that point, I had actually literally climbed a mountain at the end of my journey. I'd done a whole month of yoga, and again, like when I'd gone from having no energy to being really climbing a mountain. This is, for a start, I was scared of mountains, so this was like a totally different Nicole in a month. And what I saw in that was, and I see now even deeper, was that I had been living a suppressed life, which had been really, really draining on my energy. And as I opened my heart to really follow the call of soul, to follow the call of my heart, I had been able to free up so much energy that I had been used to suppressing myself. So ultimately, our energy is really, really taken by suppressing our truth. And this is a really, really important thing for the witch, because often the secret witch will suffer with low energy, with the experience of being burnt out, with the experience of kind of really denying herself all that she loves, or that she's called to by her heart, like really suppressing herself, keeping all those parts of herself that she doesn't love hidden. And in doing so, that is us really suppressing our truth. We're suppressing our own energy. And this is something, the secret witch struggles hugely with. And even to this day, I will still create stories around not having enough energy, instead of seeing that that is pointing me to some energetic suppression that I am in shadow around. Because I see now, and I did a Witch Wound Provocateur live on this in my group. Witch Wound Provocateur is where I explore lots of different ways that we are in victim to the witch wound. So I was sharing about how I'd had this big insight about the fact that we're actually an unlimited source of energy, and the only time that we feel we're not is when we are creating from shadow. So if we're not feeling we have energy, it's likely because somewhere we are suppressing ourselves deeply. We're in shadow. And living from soul is having that abundance of energy. When we live from soul, we create in a different way that allows us to just be free flowing truth. It allows us to be that full energetic expression of our own unique energy, and then in that way we can only have an abundance of energy. And so really that is the how we can be our fullest expression of ourselves. So really trusting our hearts, really moving more deeply into the path of soul, and allowing ourselves to illuminate all that wants to be seen about where we are in shadow, where we're keeping ourselves suppressed, until we're able to just be the cleanest, fullest energetic expression of our uniqueness. Yeah, and that example from Bali was just one of the most potent examples of that. Even though it was kind of created in a shadowy way, there was just that real clean divide between just being totally sedentary, totally suppressed, totally like just not myself, and then flipping that and totally expressing myself, like being in a place that felt like home. Like Bali is the most amazing place, the most beautiful place. And I just really, it was the first time in my life I'd ever fully expressed my own heart, my own uniqueness, my own soul. So yeah, again, I think I almost went to write a book about that, and funnily enough I was calling it Unsuppress Your Truth, and I'm still writing a book now, but it's just quite interesting how it comes full circle back to this kind of theme of unsuppressing our truth, of suppression. And that has really been something that is true for all of life. For me, every lesson that I learn is all coming back to truth. It's all coming back to being our soul's fullest truth. And I realized again the other day, and I think I shared a post about this in my group, was that I would live and die for truth. And I realized this because I used to be very, very angry, very, very triggered by people not being truthful. And I see now that that's because it was triggering for me to see people not being their fullest energetic expression. And it was also pointing to where I had deep wounds there myself, like the fact that I wanted to express fully. At one point I wouldn't have even been able to share on a podcast, and here I am just expressing my truth without really a thought about sharing my story. So that in itself is a great example of how this work has really freed up that expression for me. My first step into that, I guess, was as a writer, but again, I used to hide behind, as a secret witch, really hiding behind writing rather than speaking. And again, later on, after my initial trip to Bali, I went back to Bali to live for a few months, and in that journey, I taught yoga, and I remember teaching yoga to 40 people and absolutely quaking, like shivering with fear of really just using my voice. And so for me to be able to show up fully here really is me being my medicine, showing you that once I was secret witch, full on hiding who I was, not able to express using my voice. And now here I am creating a podcast to guide magical ones deeper into their power, deeper into their truth, deeper into their fullest expression. And the other point I want to share about that, actually, about just going back to truth, is that I've also seen recently that I'm likely neurodivergent. I think that I'm autistic, and again, there's that real link to autism and that kind of not being able to comprehend not being truth. Truth is really important for neurodivergent brains. So that is something else just really interesting that I see is also part of the witch wound. So that said, I just wanted to, and there's some real gifts in that, by the way, just to say. So again, the gift of truth is really, really potent. So as I began to see more about this, it became more available for me to consciously choose differently. And eventually I did devote to the path of soul. So I kind of, again, I'd created some of that from shadow. And as I devoted to the path of soul, I began to see all of the places that I was unconsciously suppressing myself, but also in shadowy ways. And I began to see that it was available to choose differently. So again, working with the witch wounds was a really, really powerful way to liberate this for me. And it's why working with the witch wounds is so important in this journey as well. Working with the witch as an archetype reveals all the places that we aren't being energetically expressed, all the places that we keep ourselves small. And again, this shows up in all sorts of ways. Like, you can, as I think about it and I think back to like where I was when I was deeply in my secret witch, like, and the feeling of that in my body, like I think back now to before working with the witch as an archetype, and I can feel how I used to really contort my body into smallness. Like, if I was in a room of people, I would have done everything I could to kind of make myself small and disappear and hide, like, or sink through the floor. And that, I can really feel that in my body, that kind of contorting my body into the smallest possible space it could be. And that was because of stories that I had created that were like, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you're a failure. The kind of physical impact of these wounds, which are typical of the secret witch, was huge. You know, I could feel them in my cells. And in contrast, as I have done the work to embody and expand into the energetic fullness of Queen Witch, which is my unique archetype, and Queen Witch, or Witch Queens are the ones who walk the path with me. They really know their power, they know their magic, they love themselves, they love others. And so when I embody Queen Witch, I can literally feel the power of this energetic expansion embodied in my cells. The way I take up space from that energetic is totally different. The way I move is different. The way I'm being in the world is totally, totally different to the way my body feels when I am in that secret witch energetic suppression. And there's something to be said here about power, because it's not like I'm walking around being a tyrant, being like all puffed up and, showy. And that's another kind of shadowy expression of the secret witch in a different polarity. It's not that kind of energetic, often seen in self-help, of like being wild, reclaiming our queen, all that sort of stuff. Like, that is still an unconscious way of being in shadow. The power that I'm talking to here, and I distinguish it because power can conjure up all these ideas of like our fullest energetic expression being quite bolshy, bold, wild, like angry. This isn't that. This is this kind of soft, loving power that is available as we embody the witch. And so my body now, in this kind of full energetic expression of who I am, which is Queen Witch, is that kind of soft, open, relaxed, but powerful, expanded, energetic of taking up space in the world, to be my medicine, to shine my gifts into the world and deeply serve others in doing so. And we have to take our own medicine before we're able to do that. And so that is really the path of Live Your Wild Alchemy, is really us taking our own medicine so that we can discover our gifts for the rest of the world. And often my clients will go on to then share that medicine in their own way. Be their medicine in the world is ultimately what this path is all about. But this is what the witch energetic helps us to do as an archetype, to really see that we have this deep, feminine, loving power to create, this kind of power to choose. And that is who the witch is. So working with her, embodying her as an archetype, as a powerful mirror of who we are, is the most powerful way that we can learn to liberate our fullest expression. And from doing that for myself, from that space, I have created magic and I become the fullest expression of me. And there's still work to do, and I always say this because people always assume that because I'm sharing this, like, I'm complete. this work of soul is really the lifetime lessons that we've come here to learn, and beyond our lifetime. Like, these wounds that I've come here with the idea of like not being truth, with shutting that down, these are wounds that are constantly requiring us to expand deeper and deeper. So yes, I have healed a lot, and I'm still in that work. So, but what I have created is that I have healed my face that was I was told wouldn't heal. I've healed my body. When I talk about my face, by the way, that is I had facial paralysis, so that I was told would not heal, and yet it has. So yeah, all sorts of magic by just being the fullest expression of me. And yeah, really listening into, really connecting to my body, seeing that my facial symptoms were that soul sickness trying to point me to something that I was here to learn, which ultimately that was around me seeing my power. And as I reclaimed that power and fully expressed it, my face has healed. So that's one of the ways that I have created magic. Other ways are I've created a soul-led business where I can be fully expressed, and me being fully expressed is medicine for magical ones who are also wanting to move from being unexpressed, being like suppressed, into their own power and magic, fully expressing that. I've created new relationships where I can be fully expressed, healing my relationship with, say, my mum, which I struggled to create full expression in, being open and vulnerable with my partner, building a community. You know, I show up completely differently in my feminine relationships, fully open, fully expressed, courageous, vulnerable. These things would not have been possible without me walking this path, and without me doing the work to reclaim my full expression. So the way that I would have showed up in these relationships before was really suppressed, really hiding myself, really, not allowing myself to be expressed. So this really is me being the fullest expression of myself and living from truth, living from love. And yeah, one of the ways that I realised when I coming back to what I was saying about medicine woman was I realised this language was really deeply part of who I was, this suppression, this unsuppression. And I realised because I became a homeopath along my journey. So I trained in homeopathic medicine, which really, as a medicine, is all about unsuppressing ourselves energetically, creating vitality instead of like energetic suppression that manifests in all the ways, whether physical, emotional, mental, or soul level kind of sickness, as we've talked about here. And really all of it is soul level sickness. And I began to realize as I was leading Medicine Woman, earlier this year, that this kind of talk about energetic suppression and truth was my medicine. I wasn't here to be a homeopath, even though I trained in it, but the homeopathic principles of suppression and unsuppression and expression, because I don't think unsuppression is actually a word, I think I've made that one up, but this kind of suppression and expression language were kind of the energetic principles of homeopathy. And so I took this into Medicine Woman because it was this journey that I created in this crucible was all about healing. And I began to see, as I channeled all of this, that I wasn't here to be a homeopath, but that homeopathic language of suppression and expression was really the energetic principles underlying all of my work. And I channeled some Alchemy Queendoms, which I'm going to go into now. But just before I do, I just want to come back to the fact that in going into exploration of all the places we are suppressed, all the places where we have shut down to keep ourselves safe, to all the places we've innocently created what we don't want, I just want to bring love to that, because we can so often go into shadow, into looking at shadow, into looking at how we've suppressed ourselves with like anger or fear or just like beating ourselves up. And one of the most important things of this path is seeing that this is about looking in these places, shining this light with love for the innocent parts of ourselves, that inner child that kind of shut down due to fear. Like, we have kept ourselves small, and it's important to recognize that it is us that has done this unconsciously, but we've kept ourselves small due to fear, and fear keeps us safe. And so this journey is all about really opening our hearts, opening our souls to really just loving ourselves and allowing ourselves to express, encouraging ourselves gently with love to be able to be fully expressed. And I say that because love is really the antidote to fear. It's the only way that we will create lasting change, is through being love in this. So just as we go into, I'm going to explore some of the Alchemy Queendoms that I channeled for Medicine Woman, because this is all about how we move from suppression to expression. There were some different energetic patterns that show up in the witch that were really explored in these Alchemy Queendoms. So I'm going to go into that now, but I just wanted to raise that love is so important in that. Coming to the Alchemy Queendoms. So these Queendoms are really, they were channeled through me as I was creating Medicine Woman as kind of the medicine of my path. And ultimately they're kind of like mini archetypal lenses, parts of the witch. That's almost like the witch's medicine that we can take to see where we suppress our soul. And again, to use it fully, we have to take loving ownership of our unconscious choice to suppress ourselves and own it as our innocent, shadowy creation, as our choice. And totally going there with love, because we can't choose differently if we don't look at this lovingly. So my Alchemy Queendoms are this kind of potent energetic expressions, for you to embody. They are really the gift of Medicine Woman and the magic that was created in there, and really are like a big part of this path now. And each Alchemy Queendom really mirrors how nature expresses itself within us, whether that's a plant, an animal, a mineral, speaking through us, like being embodied. And each Alchemy Queendom really invites you to take the energetic medicine of that queendom required to be in that full energetic alignment with your soul. Now, obviously, Medicine Woman was deep work in comparison to me just sharing these with you and you going away to kind of try and embody these. This isn't the intention of sharing them with you. So just to make that expressly clear, like, I'm sharing these with you so that you can begin to just notice and witness for yourself where you may be in the secret witch patterns of suppression. That's really important to know, because there's a really deep work required in order to alchemize this fully. So the deep invitation here is to begin to just explore, notice where you resonate with both the shadow and gifts available in each queendom, to see where you are in secret witch suppression and where it might be possible and available to you, if you choose to go deeper, to embody that kind of witch queenly expression of soul, your fullness. So I think as you move through, as I explore the different kind of energetic expressions, like, just notice this is a mirror that you're being invited to notice yourself through, a lens that you're invited to kind of rediscover yourself through. Like, where do you resonate with each queendom right now? Well, this is like, where is your work? So we're going to start with the Salt Queendom. So the Salt Queendom is really the energy of salt. And salt is, really something that is obviously found by the sea. So the sea is like a really great image to conjure up when you think about the Salt Queendom. It's like something that surrounds an island, often in a shadowy form of this expression. This shadow expression of this queendom is us kind of repelling love, keeping ourselves quite isolated as an island surrounded by the ocean. It's this kind of like repelling of love, this dissolving into love, even kind of getting lost in love, or avoiding, hiding and suppressing our emotions, avoiding suppressing love, our loving emotions, often being overwhelmed by our loving emotions, avoiding the darkness, rejecting intimacy, and feeling like we're this kind of isolated island, as I said, and creating from there difficult relationships, like feeling deep rejection, and yet also desiring love. Often the shadowy expression of this salt queendom is a secret witch who will expect disappointment and hurt, and kind of absorbs and holds on to her traumas, absorbs and holds on to her grief, kind of plastering over them instead of processing, holding on to anything she desires for fear of losing it, grasping tightly to things like not realizing that she is this deeply connected ocean of love. And so that is a really great example of the ways that when we're in the salt shadow, we can really stop our full expression, really create from a place of being shut down to love, rather than opening to the alchemy available in the Salt Queendom. When the Salt Queen has alchemized her gold, she is this kind of deep, loving being, this deep emotional connection, this deep union with everything and everyone, and herself. And so in a queenly expression, this like fully expressed version of the Salt Queen, if this is a lens that you're resonating with, when the Salt Queen has been alchemized, the magical one in this queendom is like deeply loving, deeply connected, and really holds herself lovingly and tenderly through all her emotions, allowing them to crack her open to deeper love. So she feels this deep love, this deep union of soul, and creates and flows from her heart as this fierce, kind of powerful force of oceanic love that flows around the earth. And so we can see like really this kind of picture of salt as this thing that like dissolves in water and gets lost if it's not kind of really alchemized properly. Like it's this deep, loving, energetic. Like we often as secret witches shut down love as a way of avoiding rejection, as a way of keeping ourselves safe, as a way of, or we'll like do things in order to get love, like get approval. And this queendom is a really good energetic way of looking at how we can really suppress our capacity for love. That's ultimately what the Salt Queendom is talking about, this energetic of rejecting, pushing away love, and what's available to us as we alchemize that, as we seal the shadow in the way of that, is this full expression of love. And that is so something that the Secret Witch struggles with, which is why it is one of our queendoms, of course. It's I hope this is resonating, that this makes sense, because it's so powerful to begin to witness all of this, like how this plays out in our lives. And for this one, for the Salt Queendom, I think really the way to witness this, the way to see where you are suppressing, is just to begin to notice, like, where do you suppress love? Where do you suppress and push away love, connection, all of that? And just begin to notice with love, like where you do that. And again, I'm always available in our Secret Witch Circle if you want to share what you have seen here, because this is work that to really deeply alchemize and fully step into your energetic fullest expression of soul, it does need a guide, it does need support. So don't do this alone. There are ways that you can step into this path, and I'll share some at the end because it's quite helpful to know, but there is always support in our sisterhood in the Facebook community. So if you want to see more about that, if you've got any questions about that, again, like, I'm always there to answer. The next queendom is the mineral queendom. So this is the energy of the natural elements, these naturally occurring crystalline structures. And again, I talk about them in terms of like what's available in nature, because we are basically nature. So exploring our suppression, our energetic suppression, in alignment with that is so helpful. So yeah, if you think about the energy of crystalline structures, the shadowy expression of those is this kind of in the secret witch. So like where we're keeping ourselves suppressed is when we kind of overstructure or understructure. This is all about like seeking control. This is this unexpressed identity, like feeling we lack form, lack nourishment, lack identity, lacking power, evading the body and its mineral form. And there's this temptation in the mineral queendom for the secret witch to kind of spiritually bypass life, spiritually bypass the body, and not digest life, not have this kind of awareness, this, and often again this, especially in the mineral queendom, this secret witch feels exhausted and depleted, kind of ignoring, suppressing the call of the body, which is our basic structure, this mineral structure. And yeah, again, like I talked about that right at the beginning, a way that could show up in the secret witch, and often does show up in the secret witch, is this kind of disconnect from the body, this disconnect from the signals of our bodies. Like for example, I gave with the period pain, like that basic kind of nudge from the body is trying to call us into our full energetic expression, as my face did, my numb face, my paralyzed face. That really called me into seeing something different and fully expressing my soul. It was the face that got me into this journey, my numb face, my paralyzed face. And so this is what mineral queendom is all about, like in this kind of shadowy, suppressed kind of version of the secret witch, she will really disconnect from her body. And yet there is the possibility, again, deepening into the path, to alchemize this into this deep loving connection to the body and the world of form. So when the mineral queendom has been like fully alchemized, in the fullest expression of ourselves, the magical one in this queendom is in deep connection to her body's sensations, to her desires. She's really grounded in the world of form, because she knows that being the fullest energetic expression of her soul is where she creates real magic. So she trusts life, she nourishes herself, she listens to her body, she's present, she's able to ground into her own being and trust its nudges, trust the call of soul. So again, you can see how the contrast between the shadowy suppression, often seen in the secret witch who ignores her body, can be really alchemized along this journey into that full expression. And again, this is very much based on my own journey. So these shadowy and queenly expressions are really ways that I have alchemized this for myself, and that is why I'm guiding others into doing the same. So again, the inquiry there for you, again, really just noticing, where are you suppressing your body? Where are you suppressing your connection to body? That's another deep inquiry. So again, if you want support, guidance with that, you know where we are in the group. Now, the next queendom is the plant queendom, the energy of plants. And I love this queendom. I love all of them, but yeah, this queendom is all about the element of the secret witch who is suppressed in terms of feeling too much emotion, and this kind of deep feminine sensitivity that gets suppressed, that gets hidden. Like the secret witch is like a deeply feminine, magical medicine for the world. And yet in plant queendom, in her kind of shadowy suppression, the secret witch often is kind of desensitized to her sensitivity, or hypersensitive and easily affected by everything around her, can often feel overwhelmed and emotional because she feels what she deems to be too much, or she's too sensitive, or she's feeling too feminine, or perhaps she goes the other way, rejects the feminine, is really in her masculine to kind of compensate for it. And she feels either everything and shames herself for it, or nothing at all and denies the gifts found in this beautiful feminine sensitivity, like suppresses that beautiful feminine sensitivity that is her gift. And She can be wild and overreactive, or she can be passive and lack expression. And these are all ways that this kind of suppression of our feminine sensitivity shows up in the Secret Witch. Often she will have this real desire to escape life. She'll feel disillusioned. She'll weep a lot. She'll often feel helpless and seek approval from others. And may also have wounding with the feminine, wounding with the masculine. But ultimately, this expression, this suppression of this shadowy suppression in this medicinal one is that she doubts her medicinal capacity and avoids being her magical self. But if she can alchemize that, if she chooses, it's not a case of if she can, it's if she chooses to alchemize that into gold, into the full expression of herself. Like, that deep feminine sensitivity is a magical medicine for the world. And this is something so common in my Secret Witches. In fact, it's kind of like the epitome of the Secret Witch. The gift is usually in the Secret Witch, there's this deep magical gift that the Secret Witch has that really is medicine for the world. When she learns to harness it as medicine for herself, it becomes this like radiation of like shiny medicine. Like, her being in her truth, her fullness, is just like magic for the rest of the world. It like ripples out this ripple of love, this ripple of alchemy. And this is why this work is so important. And so in this kind of full queenly expression of this, the plant queendom, like magical one, fully embraces and owns her sensitivity as this deep gift, as this magical medicine for the world, like really honoring her deep wisdom, her feminine essence, her desires, her pleasures, her needs, like loving her deep emotional capacity, and knowing her sensitivity is what helps her to create a magical life. There's no suppression of that anymore. It's like fully expressed. She knows her gifts, and she is medicine for the world. So that is the full expression, that full alchemized queenly expression of the witch in this kind of queendom, the plant queendom. Again, just with complete love, notice that there are some beautiful desires. If this is something you're resonating with, there are some beautiful desires in there for you to be like really feeling that, that possibility for your suppressed kind of sensitivity to be a gift. That is huge. That is huge for the Secret Witch. It's something so liberating. So even just knowing that feels wow. And just begin to notice where you see your sensitivity as something negative, and just open up to the possibility that if you do the work and choose to alchemize this, it is gold. It is a gift. It's your gift. So one of my favorite queendoms, that one. And again, noticing, share what comes up in the group. I would love to hear what you hear in this, in the group. The animal queendom. Now this one is, again, the energy of wild animals. This is quite an easy one to get your head around. I think some of the others can be a little bit, I'm not quite sure, but this one is really obvious. So the kind of shadowy, suppressed version of this, the way this shows up as suppression, is this kind of deep feeling of unsafety, this operation in survival mode, this kind of feeling, this deep fear that impacts our nervous system, this fear of not being safe, this kind of suppression of our suppression of our wild expression, this not trusting ourselves to show up in our truth, to be wild, to share what's in our hearts. And often the way this will show up in the Secret Witch is also as suppression. This like, she can either suppress her wildness or flip to the other end of that and like have these wild outbursts, which are still a version of suppression. Like, our truth isn't to have wild outbursts that are like raging. There's this sacred rage that points us to things that we can really like learn to trust and alchemize into a speaking our truth from our heart. And so it's really important to notice that each of these kind of shadowy suppressions also has this like wild expression, but in a shadowy way. So there can be in the animal queendom this wild outburst, this like rage, and or this suppression of wildness completely, this suppressing of desires. And likewise, this can show up as like creating conflict, creating drama, or surrendering, acting in victim, or acting aggressively, competitively, kind of this predator prey kind of polarity going on, this kind of persecution going on, and this persecution versus feeling persecuted, feeling like a victim. And often she can turn this animal energy as well onto herself, and often can be jealous or have this sense of like longing for freedom but feeling trapped. So the animal queendom very much is the kind of traditional feeling of suppression, this kind of like really feeling pushed down, like our wild has been suppressed and caged. And this is kind of, again, like when we choose to alchemize this into our full expression, this full queenly expression of animal queendom, there's this gift of like this deep level of wild instinct and deep level of trusting of our wild expression. So in our full expression of animal queendom, the magical one in this queendom operates in the world from a sense of deep trust in her own instincts and desires. She will embrace her wildness and be loving in her expression of truth with ease and grace. So she'll be the fullest wild expression of her soul, but in the most loving way. So she knows that she creates from her wild soul and can trust herself and her deep wild instinctual power and expression. And that isn't an expression that's like wild and, like we said, there's this shadowy suppression through kind of these wild outbursts. It's not that. It's this kind of loving, recognizing, witnessing for ourselves of our truth and trusting our own wild expression from the heart. Again, like really just take a moment to sink into noticing where you may have been in your animal queendom suppression. Like, where are you suppressing your wild expression? And again, just really bringing it back to, this is an invitation to notice with love. This is totally about you just beginning to notice where you are keeping yourself suppressed. Because the noticing, I can't even tell you how important that is as a practice. Like, just noticing is so, so powerful. And often I get told by my secret witches, well, yeah, but there must be more to just noticing. There must be more than just noticing. And I honestly can't tell you, do not underestimate the power of noticing, because in noticing you are making it conscious, and that gives you the capacity to choose differently. Whether or not that's available to you as you start to take those kind of wobbly first steps into the path, it is still giving you elevation, expansion out of the way that you have been used to being in. So another queendom, our second to last actually, so the acid queendom. The acid queendom, if you think about the energy of acid is like this alchemical, kind of corrosive, destructive, strong, sour, reactive thing. It's like powerful, but creates in a way that isn't desired. And yet, if it's harnessed the right way, it can create magic. It's alchemical. So in the kind of shadowy suppression of acid queendom, the secret witch can feel very much like a victim. This kind of energetic of being kind of hateful, corrosive, like angry, self-destructive, like using her power to resist things, like sabotaging herself, complaining. And again, I've been here. This is why I'm sharing this with you, because this is still something I've seen from my own journey, but it's very potent in the secret witch. The secret witch will create all kinds of drama unconsciously from this suppression. So she can often be in this kind of complaining, over defending her boundaries, not submitting to life, not trusting anyone, being kind of overactive and busy, burning out, feeling over exhausted, doubting her power, feeling that weak helplessness. Again, like being being as if everything is a struggle and like forcing everything into action. And ultimately also kind of really the deep sense of this is like blaming others. There's this sense in the acid queendom of like really projecting all our stuff onto others. And this often happens when we are in energetic suppression. When we are suppressing ourselves, it's very easy to then blame others for that energetic state instead of owning the victim and claiming our power to create life. So this kind of sovereignty, this queenliness element, when we are blaming others, it is a sign we are deeply suppressing parts of ourselves. And the main part that we're suppressing in this queendom, the acid queendom, is we're suppressing our power. Each time we project or give away like what it is, or blaming others, if we give that away, we're giving our power away. Like us projecting onto others, blaming others, is us giving our power away. We are suppressing our power in doing so. And yet what's available to you if you work with this queendom, and again in a supported way, is this kind of alchemized gold. There is this of this queendom is like this deep power and choosing to create alchemy. So the queenly expression, the full expression of the acid queendom, is this kind of woman with a deep power, a deep kind of, like knowing of our power to create life, this kind of becoming unavailable for victimhood, this being only available for living and creating magic from sovereignty. So this is someone, this queen, acid queendom, this acid queen is really in her full expression, someone who stands by the fire and owns her power to create with love, rather than being available for fear and victim. And she leads and creates her life from soul, really visioning her life, harnessing real magic and real power for the creation of her desires. So ultimately she powerfully and consciously creates magic. That is the full expression of acid queendom. So if you are finding that you are someone who typically blames others for your energetic state, or projects onto other people, or feels like you're not powerful, like feeling like a victim, like feeling like you can't create something, this is a sure sign that what is available to you to be alchemized is your power, like your almighty power. So again, that kind of shadowy suppression in that way, actually that wound contains this real gift of power. Like that is a sign that you are powerful, that you've come here to alchemize powerful magic. So again, notice with love, where are you suppressing your power? That is again, this is a huge one for the secret witch. So it's likely that will need some love and perhaps some guidance on that. And then we come to our final queendom, which is good because we're coming up on time. So the final queendom is one of my favorites as well. It's the metal queendom. If you think about the energy of metal, it is shiny, it is beautiful, it's natural, it's brilliant, it's reflective, it's like radiant, it shines, it reflects everything. So again, the suppression in the metal queendom, this shadowy suppression, is a woman, a secret witch, who doubts her performance. She feels unworthy. She is a perfectionist. She won't do anything without being perfect. She avoids being seen. She avoids being radiant, yet she longs to be seen. And often she will suppress herself, and in a way that kind of has her defending against life. She can like be described as others as kind of condescending, and yet that is a brilliance that is just kind of being suppressed. So she'll cower from her power. She'll lack that kind of lightness in her life. She'll armor against the world. She'll armor her heart and really deny her true self. Like, who am I to be powerful and shiny, is really the kind of vibe that we get from the secret witch who is suppressing her metal queendom. And by metal queendom, ultimately, this is like the pinnacle. The alchemized gold available in the fullest expression of metal queendom is a woman, a witch queen in her natural truth, as brilliant medicine for the world. So when the metal queendom gold has been alchemized, and that is really ultimately what we're doing here in this work, the magical in this queendom is able to shine radiantly as her beautiful natural brilliance, simply by being herself, by allowing her soul to shine through. So she's alchemized the kind of shadow need to suppress, and she's alchemized this need for perfection, and she shows up as her truth. And that is where she finds her power from love, and she shines this brilliance into the world as her unique medicine. She shines her medicine into the world. And yeah, ultimately that is really the aim for our full expression, is to just be fully ourselves, shining our truth into the world and being our medicine. This is the journey of the secret witch to the witch queen. This is the journey of liberation available in this path, and it's really the journey that I have walked, hence these queendoms being channeled and created. It was just magical how it showed up, and they've intentionally been created in a way that kind of opens you. It takes you through the journey. So as I said, these are really an introduction to you as to the kind of ways that we can work with, like really allowing ourselves to stop suppressing our soul and become that kind of full expression of ourselves. And it is really the deep work that we do here in this path to help you liberate those expressions. But if you resonate with these ways of keeping yourself suppressed, with these kind of symptoms of being a secret witch, it is a sure sign that you are here for the path of soul. And the deep invitation is to begin to walk it, of course. And I'm going to leave you with the noticing practice. As I said, don't underestimate the power of noticing. Notice, where do you suppress yourself in life? Where do you edit yourself? Where do you hide? Where are you showing that suppression of each of the queendoms? Where do you witness that in your life? Where can you be more fully expressed from your power from love? Not from projection of fear, but from you choosing to just no longer being available to suppress yourself, and to begin to reveal the next step as to how you can begin to express yourself more fully and consciously. And that ultimately is the work for all of us, all of the time. Now, if that is calling to you, there are a couple of ways that you can deepen into the path. And I would suggest that if that is calling to you, if you are really resonating and you want to go deeper, then the next invitation to begin this journey is Wild Creatrix. Invoke your Wild Creatrix, which is really the tender first steps into the path. So that is running at the end of April. I think it's the 27th. So take a little look. I'll put the link in the show notes. Take a little look have a read through. If you've got any questions, you know where I am. I'm happy to chat to you to explore if that is an aligned step for you. I also have two one-to-one spaces just opened up, unless they've been filled before this goes out, because I've recorded this in advance. So if you are feeling called to work really deeply to liberate these patterns, if you want that kind of soul guidance on a one-on-one basis, then again, I have 2 spaces, unless they've been filled by the time this goes out. So do reach out. Again, we can arrange an alchemy call if that is something that you want to explore, how to create your vision, how to create that vision of being your full energetic expression, how to actually become your full energetic expression. Do reach out for that. Again, I'll pop the link in the show notes. And again, if that's just feeling like a step too far, any of that, then maybe you just want to join our Secret Witch Circle. And in the Secret Witch Circle, we also have a live monthly Manifesting with the Moon new moon ritual live, which is so divine, so gorgeous. It's that like really powerful first step, just being with your sisters, connecting with our community. Like we sit around the cauldron, we create our new moon intentions together, and just have this beautiful ritual, which just come if you're curious. I just say just come and join us. It's just like the energy of that is just so powerful, and I've got goosebumps thinking about it right now. The power of women just declaring their intentions of what they want to create is just wow, just blows me away. So if you are feeling you want to join us, but you're just not sure, then I'd say join our Secret Witch Circle group on Facebook and just check us out, see if it resonates, and I will be waiting there to love you. So I'm going to leave you now. We've gone over just a few minutes, so keep going with that noticing practice, and all the love, and I will catch you very, very soon. Lots of love. Today's episode was really illuminating of all things suppression and expression. Here are my takeaways. Secret witches often innocently and unconsciously suppress their souls, and yet actually have a deep call to being their fullest truth. The language of expressed truth is my deep soul language. Our energy is taken up by shadow, working hard to suppress the parts of ourselves that we feel will not gain us approval, control, or security. And yet, we are an unlimited source of energy when we live from soul. If we don't feel that, it's likely because we are suppressing ourselves somewhere. In each of these energetic suppressed states, there is gold available for us. And I explored some of the ways that this shows up in The Secret Witch through our Alchemy Queendoms. We literally feel suppression in our bodies. We contort our bodies into being small. And that's why the work of this path is to embody an expanded energetic of power from love. When we learn to love ourselves enough to be our fullest expression in the world, this is not only medicine for ourselves, but also for others. And the effects of us being and our full energetic expression ripple love into the world. If you'd like to get the show notes and links for everything we've chatted about in this episode, head to www.secretwitch.co.uk. If you know a secret witch who would love this episode, please share with them to help them liberate themselves. And so you don't miss out on next week's episode, head to your podcast app of choice and hit subscribe. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.